hope you got your coffee. If you didn't, you can get it after the keynote. Good morning. Welcome to the inaugural conference on AI and education hosted at Harvard. This year focused on stories from the Global South.
I'm María Renée. I also go by Renée. I'm the co-chair of this conference with...
Hi, I'm Zainab. I'm the other co-chair of the conference, and we're both students at the Harvard Graduate School of Education and Masters in Education Policy. Renée, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling super excited to be here with our amazing speakers and audience. And you, Zainab?
I'm feeling grateful, and also wondering how we're feeling. Okay. We will get you that coffee eventually. So in addition to the conference today, it's also AI Literacy Day. And we actually didn't know that when we planned it. We learned that last week. So it's a happy coincidence, and we're really grateful to have you here with us to celebrate. That part might not have been intentional, but the title and the word stories was, and we'll get to that in a second. Today, you're going to get a lot of head stuff in terms of knowledge and information from our incredible speakers. You're also going to get a lot of hand stuff in terms of the on-the-work round people are doing during the showcase. And so we wanted to start with more of the heart stuff and the story of why we're here and why some of you came from across the globe and booked your tickets to be here for just one day. There are many moments in that story. I'm just going to pick one. Back in November, I was listening to Ethan Mullick and watching him speak about this thing going on in education, AI, that disruption. And I, at that time, was pretty anti-AI in education. And someone in the audience asked him, how do you think AI is going to transform education, and are you not concerned that it will be for the worse? And Ethan, I'm paraphrasing, said something along the lines of, AI is not going to transform education. People are, and how they choose to use it. It's not something that should be done to teachers and to students, but by them and for them. And that's really where the true innovation lies. And the best applications, and even the not so great ones in education of AI, those lessons are going to come from on the ground, from those students, from those schools, and from those teachers. He also said, though, we need to share those stories or else we're not going to learn those lessons. And the power of storytelling is being able to take those ideas and turn them into action. And so this conference is a response to that call to action, to share the stories and explore questions of, are we going to choose to let AI deepen the divides that already exist? Or are we going to help use it to bridge them? Is it going to lead us to go double down back to the basics or to transform education for the better? And so that is not a given. It is a choice that we make. It is not inevitable. It is what we, the people, choose to do.
Speaking of people, these are our incredible people. It's a woman-powered team from the Graduate School of Education. So thank you to all of you. Thank you to our partners, especially the law school, for helping us get the space today. And what brings a team from Indonesia, Colombia, Pakistan, Chile, all over the world to this? United by what? It's not just any stories. Many conferences focus on AI in education, in the US, in Europe. But this is really the first of its kind to focus on the Global South, bringing the values of equity. This is not focused on fixing the problems for the Global South, because there is already innovation, and there are people already doing the work, and there are opportunities to address very real challenges. These stories are being told. We may not be listening enough. So this space is meant to share, to listen, and activate that potential of each person and each partnership.
Also, speaking of people, is all of you. Who is in the room today? So we have people from 64 countries who are attending the conference throughout the day. They might not be in the room at the moment. And the breakdown, a majority are graduate students, some researchers and faculty, founders, people in the policy space. We also got data on how you're feeling about AI in education. I think the average was around 3.5, so a little more on the optimistic end. And main words were excited, optimistic, curious, hopeful, intrigued. But you bring a complex view, right? Trying to balance the excitement of AI's transformative power in addressing the challenges that we have in the Global South with a critical concern about equity, about ethics, implementation, and the need for local leadership and collaboration.
So what are you hoping to get out of it, and our hope for you? What we want for you is to sustain beyond those stories that are going to be told today. Build relationships towards action. We have tools to help you do that throughout the conference. In terms of logistics, you have a QR code on your name tag. In that QR code, you'll find all the information about panels, speakers, locations. And there's also a Padlet. In that Padlet, in addition to doing this stuff in person, you may not be able to meet everyone. So you can share your project, share your contact, as to connect with collaborators and leave thoughts throughout the day to spark conversation. Also, in the panels, there are Slido links to share your questions. People can vote on the most interesting questions, and moderators will engage with them. Also, if you leave your name in the question, you can ask it yourself. The QR code, as I said, also has the agenda. We also have time to connect in lunch, in coffee break. Staff are here to direct you, and we have signage because we can all get lost in the law school.
We also promised to keep you fed, so we have pastries, there's coffee, there's lunch, there's an afternoon reception, so do eat if you would like to. Our hope today is really that this is a spark, it's a seed, it's a launching pad to something greater and deeper. Yesterday on a walk with Dina and Vinny, we were talking, and they have been working with each other for 6 years, but haven't met in person until this conference. And so that's what it's really about, is bringing people together and bringing you all together. So yes, listen to the the panels and the power that we're borrowing from our speakers, but also build power with each other. With that, let's begin. So Dina is the Director of Global Education Transformation at Microsoft. She manages Microsoft's digital transformation engagement with education systems worldwide.
In her role, she empowers education leaders around the world to innovate education and educate students for innovation through resources and programs that accelerate sustainable and scalable digital transformation.
Dina's passionate about opening a world of opportunities to all children through education, and she sees technology as a catalyst for realizing that vision.
Throughout her career, she has been a change leader who managed systemic transformation. Prior to Microsoft, she led education transformation as the Director of Academic Innovation at a school system in the US.
And prior to that, she advised and supported schools and governments worldwide on transforming education using technology at Intel. Dina holds dual master's degrees, one in education from Columbia University and another in computer engineering from West Virginia University. We're incredibly grateful to have you, Dina, with us today, so come on up.
Hi, everybody. Can I get the clicker?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. It's quite an honor and a privilege to be here with you today. This topic is not just a topic about something that is my job or my profession. It is near and dear to my heart, and I'll tell you why. I first just want to thank the organizers for the fantastic job that they've done and for their vision to actually have a conference like this today. And thank you all for being here. Really appreciate your presence and your participation. So I want to tell you a little bit about me and why this topic is really personal for me. I grew up in the Global South, in Egypt, in a low to middle income family. We didn't go on vacations, no trips to the beach, no flights to faraway places. My dad was always busy, working hard to provide for us. And family outings or getaways just were not in the budget. But he had just one rule. If the ask was about education, the answer is always yes. I spent all my weekends and summer vacations at home, and it was miserable. So with this rule, I learned how to use it to my advantage. So every summer, when the other kids went on summer vacations, I would ask him to go to the library. And I spent all my days there, reading every book I can get my hands on, devouring it. Pages became my passport, and the stories in those books became my way to see the world. And in third grade, I pushed the rule even further. I convinced him to take me and my siblings to the pyramids. I mean, after all, it was about learning history, right? And in high school, I actually pushed the rule to a point that broke barriers. I entered and won a competition at school. I won first prize. And the reward was a trip to France. I wanted to go so bad. But I knew everybody's going to say no. But I knew the rule. And I worked so hard to convince my dad. And eventually, true to his word, he said yes. And just like that, learning took me beyond borders, literally, to see new places and to experience new cultures. Education wasn't just about school for me. It was my card to experience the world. It gave me the confidence, the independence, and the ability to choose my own path in life. It continued to open doors for me since then. Education gave me the freedom to spread my wings. But millions of children around the world don't get that same freedom. I want to share with you a couple of stories. On the left is Akram. Akram was a fourth grader. He loved math, but he struggled to read. His teachers told him he has limited abilities and he would never be able to read. Imagine being 9 years old and being told by the very people who are meant to teach you, not that learning is hard or that you learn differently, but that you are incapable of learning. The problem wasn't in Akram. I met him in 2016 when I started an organization called Education Without Walls to help students in Egypt with some live education, online supplemental content. The problem wasn't in him. The problem was in the system that has labeled him and written him off instead of giving him a chance to try. And he's just one side of the reality in the global south. There's another side. While I was working in rural Egypt to train teachers on the use of technology, I met Khadija. Khadija is 7 years old. While I was setting up the laptops, she stood there watching in complete amazement. She was drawn to the screens. She wanted to know, what are these laptops for? How could you use them? So I showed her. But her father came, and he said he's not going to send her to school, ever. See, for many girls like Khadija, education is not a right. It's a privilege that can be taken away before they even get a chance to start. And it's not because she didn't want to learn or she's incapable, but it's because of who they are and where they are born. Education, this great equalizer, is still a barrier that many are not allowed to cross. And there are millions of children like that. It's not just about Akram and Khadija. There are millions of them who are denied opportunity or are being told directly or indirectly that they're not worthy of learning. So the question is, who really gets the chance to spread their wings? And when we talk about artificial intelligence in education, it is not just about learning tools. I see it as a way to break these cycles of exclusion and to rewrite the future for children like Akram and Khadija. That is not the title of this slide. I don't know what's happening. It should say barriers and opportunities. So why does this happen? There are many barriers to education access and quality in the Global South. And you all must know them. I'm not going to delve into all of them. But the interesting thing and the ironic thing is that education is the very thing needed to break through all of these four barriers. And I'm not going to talk about them, but I want to spend a minute on capacity in particular. Because oftentimes when we talk about capacity in education, most people start thinking about teacher training or student skills development. But if we truly want to break these barriers, I think we need to expand the way we think about capacity. Because I think the most powerful force in education is not better trained teachers or more skilled students. I think it's leadership. In rural India, Paramjit is a principal at a public school that teaches first-generation learners, meaning their parents don't have an education. She faces severe budget constraints. Yet for several years, her school is a Microsoft Showcase school. The bar is high, trust me. And it's not just that, her school is recognized in the region as a lighthouse that helps other schools with their technology needs. She told me that financial constraints are not her biggest challenge. She focuses on what matters most, the school culture and their commitment to their students. When I interviewed her on the Leading Innovation podcast, she told me, when it comes to finances, we have constraints. But when it comes to human resources, we are bountiful. Our resources are our culture, our commitment, and our will to change the world of our students, and it works beautifully. Isn't she amazing? Imagine what would happen if we scale that kind of leadership across the Global South. Okay, and even if we remove all of the barriers that I mentioned before, there is still something even more fundamental about education that is holding us back, Global South and North alike. And that's those inherent constraints of education. The time, the place, the teacher-to-student ratio, the standardized tests, these are not just practices and policies. These are just baked into the way schools operate worldwide. And even though I was one of the lucky ones who had a relatively good education, my education, just like that of many people, still left a lot to be desired. We're still seeing around the world low learning outcomes everywhere, students being left behind everywhere, overwhelmed teachers, that's just the norm today, and students that are still not prepared for the workforce or their future. According to UNESCO, 251 million children are out of school today, and 44 million teachers are needed to close the global needs. That's a lot. And in some countries, teachers have 50, 80, and sometimes 100 students in their classroom. And we know about Bloom's two sigma problem, right? Some of us, many of us, where one-on-one instruction is known to be the most effective strategy in education. But we don't have enough teachers, we don't have enough time, we don't have enough resources to provide every student with a personal tutor. We can't do that, and that's the paradox of education. We know what works, but we don't know how to apply it at scale. So the inevitable conclusion is the system is fundamentally flawed and it needs a fundamental shift. And now we have AI. Gives us the potential to maybe break through some of these barriers. And it won't be by replacing teachers, but by supporting overwhelmed teachers, by augmenting what they do, by giving access to children who don't have access to education. And by maybe one day we'll actually see true personalized and mastery learning happening for real. So education with AI is not something in the future. It is really happening today, and we're starting to see transformation around the world. I'm going to share just some examples from 3 different countries. And I'm actually going to start right to left, just because I'm Egyptian, and that's what we do. So in EduState in Nigeria, the World Bank started a pilot where they used Microsoft Copilot, or AI, to provide personal tutoring to 15 years old in an after-school program. And the results were striking. Learning gains that would typically take 2 years were achieved in 6 weeks. And girls benefited more. Now that deserved many victory laps. When I heard the news the first time, I actually danced in my office. That's what we've been waiting for in education technology for years. And we're actually lucky to have one of the leads of this pilot here in the room today, María. She's going to speak later, but please reach out to her, high five, congratulate, and just learn more about that pilot and study. The other one is in India. So in Karnataka in India, currently the second phase of Shiksha Copilot is underway. So Shiksha Copilot is an AI tool that is meant to support teachers, and it was developed by Microsoft in collaboration with the local teachers. The tool helps them create lesson plans and content for the students, quizzes, activities, etc., and does that 10 times faster than typical. So with that Copilot, then teachers now have higher quality lesson plans and more time to engage with students. Currently, Cornell University is doing a quantitative study on the ground. The third one is in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So in Brazil, what they decided to do is to use AI to provide personalized feedback to students on their work. And we know from research that effective and timely feedback is critical to student learning. But it's very time-consuming. And teachers oftentimes don't have the time to do it justice. So by using AI to help with these repetitive tasks, what the Sao Paulo education system did is actually it allowed them to then expand and scale support to more students without overloading teachers. These examples are real and they're happening today, and they are the result of using AI with purpose in an ethical and an equitable way. So with artificial intelligence, which is a GPT, not that GPT, chat GPT, but GPT as in general purpose tool, there are infinite possibilities here. There's a lot that artificial intelligence can help us with to break through the limitations we talked about earlier of time and space and scale, so that we can move from constraints to possibilities. Possibilities that empower teachers, that personalize the learning and the whole student experience, not just the learning experience, but everything that students need, from services, from support, with their career pathways, with navigating their careers throughout their life, to accelerating research and innovation. My son is 11 years old. He already has about 4 different AI apps on his phone. I encourage that. He uses it to help him study, to quiz him before a test. He uses it to learn about various topics. And my only wish is that the AI he uses knows more about him as a learner, how he learns best, what he needs, what he already understands, his age, because currently it doesn't. That's an opportunity that we have here. We have an opportunity to create a seamless learning experience for all of our students that combines the strengths and the data from all of the different learning environments that they're engaged with, so that we can serve them the best way possible. So imagine if every learner, no matter where they are in the world, has something like an AI personal learning companion. That companion knows everything about their needs, their learning differences, their aspirations, their strengths, what they want to do in life. And it really adapts and supports them with all of their learning needs. Now that companion could even be a companion for life, grows with them from childhood to adulthood. Oftentimes in education, once a child passes from one grade or one class to another, a lot of the knowledge stays with that one teacher that could be extremely valuable for the other. And then that AI personal learning companion is an AI agent that orchestrates with a lot of different AI agents that are more specialized. Maybe about mental health, maybe about academic topics, maybe about navigating careers. But that is not really science fiction. This is a future that we can create today. It is possible that we can develop AI learning agents that would make learning personal, universal, grounded in the information about the learner, but then also limitless. All right, but if we were to really expand opportunities with AI, we need to face its challenges head on. Because it's not without risks. Bias in, bias out. And privacy cannot be an afterthought. And the goal is to really have human-centered AI, not AI-centered humans. And AI is part of the 4th industrial revolution, and it's already here, and it's already being used in classrooms. Yet there are places around the world that still don't have electricity. The technology brought to us by the 2nd industrial revolution 150 years or so ago. With AI moving so rapidly, if we don't act fast, we risk creating similar or even worse access gaps. So what do we do? I'm actually proud of Microsoft because I think they have put in place, they've made a lot of commitments to ensure and to enable trustworthy AI. They translated those commitments, frameworks, and standards into actual product capabilities that helps either governments using the platform, education institutions using the platform, or building on top of them to actually be protected at every layer. They added things to fix hallucinations, to avoid undesired behaviors, harmful content, bias, misuse. I think the most important thing that they've done is they have a CRAO, a Chief Responsible AI Officer. And that Chief Responsible AI Officer ensures that the 6 key principles of responsible AI are in everything that's being done, and there are tools to even assess any app product based on those 6 principles. Fairness, transparency, accountability, inclusiveness, reliability and safety, and privacy and security. So education gave me the freedom to spread my wings. And I really believe AI can do the same for millions of children around the world if it's built and used with the right values. And it's not the future, it is the present. It's happening right now. It's transforming education in multiple places around the world. But I think that we really need to act with urgency. Careful urgency, yes, but still urgency. Because every moment is an opportunity to impact a child's life that we will never get back. And we can't afford to have slow, bureaucratic approaches. AI is moving at lightning speed. So we need to adopt an agile mindset. We need to test, iterate, adjust, scale. It is the only way that we can keep up. And I think we must raise the expectations. Because we can leapfrog over outdated education systems. We've seen countries around the world skip landlines and go straight to mobile phones. Leapfrogging is possible. Where there is no legacy infrastructure or any tech debt, we could have rapid transformation with AI. So if you are an educator, I urge you to use it thoughtfully, to free up time so you can engage more deeply with students. That interaction student-teacher is what matters. If you are an education technology or an implementer or a change maker, don't reinvent the wheel. We oftentimes just start from scratch and go build new solutions and go try new things. Just look around you. If 60 to 80% of what you're looking for already exists, just leverage that. Adapt it, customize it, tailor it to your needs, and move quickly and scale faster. And form alliances. We don't each know what we don't know. I just got back from Paris where the Digital Transformation Collaborative we formed with UNESCO. It's a collaborative that brings various partners together with diverse backgrounds. And it's our collective diverse viewpoints that is actually providing a comprehensive and rich value to the governments that we're supporting with digital transformation. And if you're a policymaker, don't wait. But regulations can't lag behind AI. And if you're a student, your voice matters. Challenge the assumptions. Use AI, but wonder and ask, is it helping me learn or is it a crutch? Is it working for everyone? So, interestingly, you showed Ethan Malick's comments earlier. I totally agree with him. AI would not decide the future of education. We will. And look, AI, no matter how powerful, it's a tool, like a pen. And just like a pen, what we create with it is entirely up to us. So if what we wrote is bad, we don't blame the pen. We improve the way we use it. The same is true for AI. So I'll leave you with this. What kind of future do you want to build? And what stories will you write with this pen? Thank you.
Thanks for ending on that note, Dina. Great line. So we're just going to open it up. This is the only panel we're not going to do a Slido, so this is your chance to speak. If you have a question, just raise your hand, and we'll come to you with a mic. Yeah. Good workout for me. Here you go.
Thank you to the organizers of this event. It's really an honor to be here, and thank you so much for the incredible presentation this morning. You talked a little bit about some of the things that Microsoft is working on, including bias, and I do agree with you wholeheartedly about the access that students can have to AI for improving their education. Can you talk a little bit about, because this is a project I've worked on over at the Divinity School, specifically bringing kind of a sense of belonging when it comes to history or culture, students finding a sense of belonging in their learning in AI. And what we found is that when trying to bring up certain stories, especially for African American cultures, there still is a bias when it comes to the content being produced. And we, for example, took 19 tries to get AI to produce photos or images of African Americans, and we finally had to say, please make sure they look hopeful. Please make sure they look joyful. Please make sure they look happy. And that was last semester, October. So when students are reading about history, there's also stories of African American students in Virginia looking for historical information, and AI even saying they're not sure about where the history of African American slaves, which any person who studied history knows that there are kings and there are queens and there are larger, richer stories of the African American experience. So can you talk about, I was really just intrigued by what you talked about with Microsoft working on those things, and is there anything you can share for others here in the room to help improve that?
Yes, absolutely. I think, like I said, this is still working, right? Like I said earlier, AI can really reinforce some of the existing inequalities or biases, and this is one of the risks that we need to mitigate. I just want you to remember that AI is an infant. It is, less than 2 years? And yes, it's accelerating and progressing pretty quickly, but we're sort of improving as we go. So what I would urge you to do is every time you encounter any of these instances where there is bias, to report it. Because there are, I don't know which tool you were using, whether it's Microsoft or all of the other many AIs out there, but report it. Let them know. Because from what I know, not just Microsoft, but a lot of the other AI providers are really working hard to make sure that it works for everyone. And the other opportunity that we have as well is to not just have AI run on whatever is online. So artificial intelligence learned how to talk, but then it still references content that is out there. And yes, the content that is out there is biased. But if you do want to provide a protected environment for a specific group of people, it could be students at a university or in a classroom, you could ground that AI in a certain set of data and tell it not to provide answers from outside. That grounding is very important, and in all of the stories that we talked about here, that's what we advocate for, is to make sure that AI is pointing to the data we trust when it responds to a question.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Wonderful presentation. And the question that I have is regarding the point you mentioned, there's a lot of tools that Microsoft already developed and just look for that and use it. At the same time, there's a lot of startups actually working in this space and try to provide a solution to address certain need. My question is, how can we ensure there's not a lot of waste in this area in the sense that allow those startups actually learn about what other like a big company like Microsoft already come up with solution, and that they wouldn't spend a lot of energy and try to address the same thing and come up with a solution actually is not as superior as Microsoft, but at the same time allow them to have the ability to try to like innovate. So that's the question that I have, how to make sure this kind of communication channel going well.
Yeah. I love what you just said, because I was just talking about this, right? How can we not reinvent the wheel, right? AI is moving really fast, and if we're all just building the same thing at the same time, it is not helping. We're not moving faster as a collective. So I fully agree with you that this is something that needs to happen. What I would encourage any new companies or startup working is to just really take stock of what's available and what's possible, particularly from the key players in the AI world. We as a company may do some work to actually get this out there, and we do have a group dedicated to working with startups. So there is an opportunity there for them to either participate in that group, to get the latest and greatest from Microsoft and get the support that they need as they build their tools. But if they don't decide to be part of that ecosystem, at least they could look around and understand what is available from all of the different providers.
Hello, I come from India, and I run 3 low-cost affordable schools of Mumbai. And over the past 1 year, I have been training over 8,000 teachers in India on AI and how to use AI, especially ChatGPT, and how to prompt and things like that. A few things that I've noticed, and I'm just looking for some insight on that, is one, the teachers, once they learn how to prompt and create lesson plans, they're still not able to create lesson plans. The reason is because I feel like they have to build on their existing knowledge in order to get the AI to, so when teachers tell them use this model or use this framework or use, let's say, a GRR model for a lesson plan, then they can get something better. So one is I'm seeing that many of the teachers that I've experienced don't have that domain expertise, and hence they're not able to extract out of the AI what their children need in the class. And when they start putting in some certain frameworks which they may not have understanding of but just heard, then they get a really good lesson plan which they can't deliver, because the principles and the practices are not aligned. And so that just gets me to think, one, yes, we can help these teachers develop their domain expertise with AI. It's a little tricky. But what I was thinking was, should I skip the teacher, and go to the student, because I'm inspired by your story. I have 11-year-old too. I'm thinking, is there any insight that you have, without losing hope on the teacher side, but also to get the kids not to lose time waiting for their adults to figure it out?
Yeah. This is a great question, because sometimes when you ask a question of AI and it gives you the answer and you don't understand it, it's really great and it's great quality, but then you can't apply it or you don't understand why it's so good. I think it's important when you're training teachers to sort of understand a little bit where they are. And for those who need time saving, perhaps using AI in that manner would make the most sense. But for others who still need to understand some of the fundamental pedagogical concepts, I would try to use AI to help them with that. So, for example, have them engage with AI to understand, a particular pedagogical concept. Have them interact with it and ask it, why is that a good approach? And how would it translate into a lesson plan? Have AI maybe generate an example. Just tell them, what do you see about this lesson plan that maybe is different from your previous practices? So what I'm trying to say is I would tailor the training to teachers based on where they are with their own professional development journey. And for my son, he loves his teachers, don't get me wrong. But if he has a test the following day and he wants to make sure that he's ready and he just uses AI to help him get prepped, the first time I showed him how to do it and I realized that he had some misconceptions. So I showed him how to use AI to make sure that he really understands things correctly. And then he just took it from there on his own. I said earlier, AI is not going to replace teacher. I don't think that relationship teacher-student could be done with AI. But it's all of the extra support that every child needs, like I said, that is impossible given the current constraints of the education system. The way it is fundamentally built, it doesn't allow for that to happen. Every child has a question, if you have children, how many times in a minute? How many questions in a minute? Which teacher is available all the time to answer all of that? But AI could supplement all of this, it could really help.
There's already a question in the back, and there's also seats here for people who are standing.
Thank you for such an inspiring keynote. I'm actually a founder in an agent-driven edtech startup, and I wanted your one piece of advice for making sustainable education.
As a startup?
Yes, please.
Oh. Well, I would say just start from where everybody else ended. Just look for really opportunities to make a difference. Look for opportunities to also scale. This is a huge space you're in, trying to really improve education. And I spent more than a decade working on that in a lot of different capacities. From your place as a startup, I would really try to do something and do it really well and have it drive impact somewhere, even at a smaller scale, as quickly as possible. Because once you've actually tried it out and you figure out all those kinks and you see the results, you get inspired, you'll get ideas on how to scale it, and you would have something to help you think about how to take this even further and bigger.
Uh-oh, I have to pick. I'm gonna come back. Sorry.
Thank you for your insightful talk. I'm María serving as head of research at Honor Education. I'm curious to learn your thoughts about the potential impact of excessive AI-driven personalization on a student's participation in social and collaborative learning experiences.
Oh, wow. I have not done that research. And I don't know if we've actually gotten to a place where it's gotten excessive yet. I think we're still just kind of starting with all of that. And just like we're still grappling with how to sort of manage and control and screen time and the use of technology and the use of social media, you know, for learners, I think we've now added one more thing to the equation, artificial intelligence. I think it's a matter of balance, striking that right balance. And honestly, really trusting students themselves as well. Because we really have an opportunity to do education with students, not to them, like we've always done. And this is what I'm trying to do with my son. I'm actually trying to empower him now at 11 to understand artificial intelligence and to know when to use it and when not to use it. When I talk to him now, he doesn't say, I'm going to Google this. He says, I'm going to use Copilot. So I let him And then we have a conversation about it. I'm like, what do you think of the response? Are you going to treat it as a fact? What is the evidence? Did you look at the references? So it's an opportunity for me to teach him now so that when he's on his own using AI later, or influenced by his peers, or who knows, he knows exactly what to use it for and how.
Hi, thank you for being here. So I'm a student here at Hugsy, and something that I've observed is that there's a lot of hopeful entrepreneurs wanting to maximize the potential of AI, and sometimes it can seem like there's an AI intervention for everything, and even when it may not actually be crucial in that specific domain. So for founders, in your opinion, I was kind of wondering, what are the key signs that AI is a necessity for a particular educational intervention?
What are the key signs?
Yeah, the key signs that's needed.
I think you need to see impact, right? So it depends on what you're building. If you're building something that's going to enable students to get access to education, well then the before picture was a child not being educated at all, and then with your intervention, you've actually enabled that child to learn something. You're able to assess that. What happened, for example, in EduState and the work that María and the team in World Bank has done, their theory of change was if we give personal tutors to students, even in an after-school program, that this will help them improve their learning outcomes. So if you have something like that as a startup in a company, then you can test it. They've put a study in place and they measure whether there has been an improvement in the learning outcomes or not. So whatever theory you have about the value of AI, just understand how you're going to measure it and go to work to make sure that this is happening.
Okay. We have 4 minutes left, so I think we'll just take maybe 3 questions. And Dina, are you okay to answer them together? Okay, I promised I would come to you.
There's coffee after, right? Yeah.
Thank you for picking me. Hi, Dina. My name is Prajakta. I'm a JFK fellow at the Kennedy School, but I take lots of classes at Hugsy as well. And my question is, I would love to seek your thoughts on this idea that I think AI's real promise is on dealing with things that have traditionally been on the fringes of mainstream education. So, for instance, we have wonderful pedagogies like the Montessori method or the Waldorf method, but AI can help us make it culturally sensitive to the context. Or let's say STEM education, we can not just use AI to de-bias it, but to overcompensate for the biases that are existing in our traditional methods. So I would love to hear your take on whether this is really a promise, and do you see any challenges doing this? Thank you.
You mean AI promises to help with those methods? I think part of the reason why a lot of those methods are actually effective is that they are designed different than the typical education experience. They're not designed with 100 students in a classroom sitting in a row and a teacher didactically just delivers a certain set of information. I think there may or may not be a role in AI in those. Again, it's not just because we have a hammer that everything looks like a nail. If there is no real gap or opportunity in those settings to leverage AI to make it even more effective, then there is no need to do it. But if there is a gap, if there is something that could be more efficient, that could deliver even additional value, then let's consider AI for that.
Hello, I'm right here.
Oh, hi.
Hi, I'm Judith. I'm faculty at Georgia Tech School of Interactive Computing. One of the things that I spend a lot of time thinking about is sustainability of educational interventions. Unfortunately, most of the students that need the most help in the Global South also live in extreme poverty situations, so trying to afford primary needs. And so to sustain these things, we pretty much have to depend on the value system or benevolence of local and national leaders, and history has shown that even that is not sustainable. So how do we, I talk to a lot of innovators, startups who come out with the conclusion after trying for a long time that these technologies, even from the basic mobile power technologies to AI systems, you don't make money there because the people that you're trying to provide the services to cannot afford. So how do we keep innovating? Who's going to pay for these things long term?
Yeah. So this is, again, just my personal opinion. I'm a strong advocate for sustainable business practices. And it could be a for-profit, it could be a B Corp or a benefit corporation, or whatever it is. But if you're not able to guarantee that you're going to be continuing to be in operations and to deliver the services that you've promised your beneficiaries, you're vulnerable, very vulnerable. And the people who depend on you are even more vulnerable. So I think one of the things to think about is to think about a business model for these organizations that provides a certain set of services that brings enough revenue and support to then be able to help others who are not going to be able to pay for those services, right? The same concept perhaps of, financial aid in education institutions, right? The education institutions are making enough to be able to support students who are not able to pay for their education. So I think we really need to think about sustainability with that lens instead of just always have it be a give. And I feel like it's a cycle. We're always looking for immediate impact, but it is a cycle. You don't really have to start with the most challenging places, because then you're going to be discouraged very quickly and you're going to run out of resources pretty quickly. But like I said, there are so many children worldwide that you can impact and you can impact today. Look for a place where you could actually make a difference. Start there. And then those could actually help you once they get that education and become empowered to even help more and more people. You're welcome.
Hi. Final question. Hi there. Thanks. I'm right here. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for your wonderful talk and for being here and everybody's fantastic questions. I was grateful to see the slide about the mechanisms that are in place to help support security and privacy with the young people. But one of the risks as well is human attachment to AI chatbots. Can you speak to that a little bit about maybe what mechanisms are being put in place from Microsoft? Or, by the way, I'm from the Center for AI and Digital Policy, which is why I'm asking. So.
Yeah. Are you talking about attachment, like how people got to be really close to Siri, for example, or like what kind of?
Well, kind of the decisions that are coming, or the prompts and the responses that are coming from AI personal agents and chatbots. For example, there was a suicide that occurred because of a personal and passionate relationship that occurred between a human and a chatbot. So, in our context as educators using AI personal agents, one of the risks with these human attachments is that they avoid personal human contact because it's easier to engage with the chatbot than it is to have to deal with people and emotions and frustrations and challenges. So
yeah. And I actually recently was talking to a friend who mentioned that AI used as a therapist actually got rave reviews, and people said that they prefer it to talking to their actual friends. But then over time, they decided they want to go back and talk to the human again. So that was really great and insightful. Look, I think I'll reiterate again, there are risks. And I think the most important thing is for us to really understand what is the potential risk that AI could bring. I also want to emphasize that it's very important that if we are going to be using AI, that we use it within a controlled environment, at least for now, until we know more and until we're able to really put even more guardrails. So I'll talk about Microsoft. And when we engage with any education institution or with the government to build AI, we don't tell them go work with the AI that is outside in the world. We want them to build their own, sitting in their own environment with their own checks and balances and content filtering and control measures that would make them feel confident that they're able to deliver on the promise that they made to take care of those learners. So that's what I would encourage. What a lot of universities have done when they engage with Microsoft, they said, yeah, students are already out there on ChatGPT doing all sorts of things with AI. We want to bring AI to our environment so that it happens within our system and we're able to really help them so they're not exposed to all of the harm out there. And that's what we've done with many of them. So that's what I would encourage we do, because if it's out in the world, it's hard to. You're welcome.
Can we give her a round of applause?
Yeah.